Good afternoon, Avadhuta, Babadanji.
Good afternoon.
What are you going to talk to us about today?
Today I'm going to talk about 1 in a million. It says in the Bhagavad Gita, the Hindu scriptures, that there is 1 in a million out of all the devotees. There is 1 in a million who is self-realized. Now, instead of worrying in these terms, ego terms, just be glad that there are many saints on the earth. If you divide the population, in public there are saints, and in monasteries there are saints. All over the world there's saints. I am 1 in a million. Out of 1 million people practicing sadhana, there'll be one person who's self-realized, and that's me, self-realized. God has blessed the world with the saints. It doesn't matter if no one believes that the person is a saint, that the person believes, that the world believes that the person is self-realized or not. That's irrelevant to the saint and to God. You should be pleased, as people doing sadhana, that there are public saints in the world at all. And even though they are being attacked by dark forces and political forces and governmental forces all over the world attack public saints, and satanic forces attack saints, God will protect them, and those curses that are being sent to the saints by dark forces will reverberate back onto those dark forces. Nothing can get in the way of God's wish. When God wants a person to live and be a saint, despite all the opposition that he'll receive in the world, and he'll also receive, of course, support from God's devotees, but he'll receive opposition from the enemy and from demons, he will continue in the path of righteousness, because God has put him there. It's part of God's manifestation of divine righteousness that there are saints on the earth. It's part of God's activity. There always will be saints. As long as there are human beings, there will always be saints on the earth, and there always was saints on the earth. And in the future they will also continue to be self-realized saints on the earth, because that is what God wants, and nothing can stand in the way of what God wants. It doesn't matter if a person should, that's why a person should do their spiritual sadhana. They don't know that they're not going to become a saint. They should do their sadhana with their spiritual practice with the idea that they have been called by God to do their spiritual practice. And no matter how great the opposition is, and all people doing proper spiritual practice will have an opposition in their life for it from dark forces, God will bless them, and they will be victorious in that path. They shouldn't do it for recognition, because who's going to recognize a saint? Only God can recognize a saint. Can ignorance ever know truth? No. Everyone will pick on one person. I've seen it many times. They'll pick on someone they think is a holy man, and he isn't. And he'll be famous and public, and then they'll pick on another person who actually is a holy man and venerate him. They don't know why they're venerating. Ignorance is ignorance. That's his nature. He doesn't know truth. Only God knows who the real saints are and who the real saints aren't. The populace, the public, are fickle. It's like movie star attraction to them. And if a person looks good, has a charisma, has a rich ashram, has many devotees, to the public it will seem that he might be self-realized. That doesn't necessarily mean, of course, that he is self-realized, because most of the people in the public arena are not self-realized. They're just yogis who have had a few experiences of energy, and they're actually put there by God so that people will not bother with the real saints. That seems like a strange thing to say. But God only wants those who are very, very sincere in their spiritual practice to see the real saints. He's protecting them from the mass audience of people who are worldly and not really interested in proper spiritual practice. They are only interested in a spectacle. And a spectacle is what they get, on the whole. So God has instituted the saint. I'm one in a million. And God has instituted the one in a million scenario.